Good evening, everybody. Welcome along to this edition of SportsView on NerdMedia.tv. It's Monday, the 13th of January, 2025. Good evening, Anna, and welcome.
Good evening, Joe. Good evening, Darwin. Good evening.
Yeah. Good evening, Joe and Derwynne, and welcome, lads.
Good evening, Anna. Great to have you back.
I don't know about that now, Joe.
Anyway, we generally begin the program with soccer, but before we get into all the FA Cup matches, Waterford, the county Waterford here in Ireland, had inaugurated their Sporting Hall of Fame. And the first person they picked to enter that Hall of Fame is Alfie Hale, a soccer legend here in Ireland, as most of us would have known of. You know Alfie Hale. He had a long career. He's in his 85th year, Alfie. He scored 130 goals in his career in the League of Ireland, and he had a spell over across channel with Aston Villa and Forest and a few more as well. But he played most of his soccer here in Ireland in the 60s and 70s, and he was a fan. Yeah.
I used to hate Alfie Hale in the 60s.
Yeah.
In that great Waterford team.
Oh,
Hale,
Peter Thomas.
All those guys. Peter Thomas, the Codes. I used to hate those guys. Johnny Matthews, all the mercy in him. They were always pipping Limerick or knocking them out of the cup or pipping them to the League of Ireland. But I was lucky enough actually to play with him once in the Markets Field. We played in actually twice in the Markets Field. I'm sorry. Once in Al Finucane's testimonial match in like 1970 or something like that, 71, and an Irish international team played a League of Ireland team at
That's right.
At the Markets Field.
Yeah.
And then I played a few years later. Alfie and I were on the same team with Nobby Stiles and Joe Burke, another great Limerick man.
Joe Burke was great.
Yeah, and I'm trying to think. Johnny Matthews was played in that match with us.
Do you remember? And Tommy Gaynor was a great player too.
Tommy Gaynor was a fine player. Did
great
at Nottingham Forest. Won the League Cup there.
Yeah.
I think back in the day. Yeah. So,
I was in Flower Lodge the Sunday that just packed out to the wire till it was around the pitch, and Waterford and Cork Hibernians, who were flying at the time. Cork Hibs just needed a draw to win the league title, and they went 3-0 up, and we were all singing and the usual thing of waving our scarves. Waterford won the match 4-3 in the end.
But that was a good match.
And denied Cork to the league title. We weren't singing. We were singing later on that night, but it was in victory. But
and that was a very good Hibs team. Dave Bacuzzi and those guys.
They're a fabulous team. Fabulous team. But I was delighted for Alfie Hale, and he's in his, as I said, he's 85 now, and he's still hale and hearty, still very fit looking man.
And they won the league as well at that time, didn't they?
He won. I'm just reading here. He won 6 league titles in his playing career here in Ireland. Alfie Hale did.
Yeah.
And he managed Waterford in the 80s and 1980s as well. But I was delighted to see him.
He was Mr. Soccer in.
He was a great player.
Waterford. He was a great player.
God,
a lovely man. I met him again at the international reunion about 5 or 6 years ago. We had it up in Dublin before the Wales match at Croke Park when Ireland beat Wales 1-0. And I met him at that. Al and Kevin Fitzpatrick were up there as well for that. So it was a great time. We had a great time up there.
Did you have a bottle of lemonade each?
We did, yeah. We split one between us.
We had a boxer that got an award at those awards the other night as well. His name is Keelan Cassidy, he just missed out on qualifying for the Olympics. He's from
Yes.
Waterford as well. So he was awarded an award the other night as well.
Oh, yeah. What weight does he fight at, Anna?
Pardon?
What weight does he fight at?
He fights at 71
All right.
kg.
And then we heard today that Tyson Fury has retired from boxing.
Yeah, he's right
And,
too.
and I think he's not in it anymore, anyway, you know. Particularly over the last fight when he was when the decision went against him, which was appalling. But we spoke enough about it, all right.
Yeah, but I didn't think he won it, Pat.
Well, he won more than 4 rounds in the fight. He only was given 4 rounds.
I think that the other guy won by at least two rounds.
Are you saying that Usyk won 7 or 8 rounds out of the 12?
Yeah, I think so. If you look at Tyson Fury, all he was doing was throwing. He wasn't throwing. He wasn't scoring.
Yeah.
Yes,
That's
where he catch your man. I can't think his name with one. Your man had come back and catch him with 3 or 4.
Yeah, I don't know. We just
Anyone that I knew involved in boxing all thought the same. Some of them actually thought that the other guy won by 3 rounds.
Anyway, the heavyweight division has gone to the dogs. Anyway, when you have a light heavyweight winning it. Anyway, Shinsuke, the FA Cup was in its full throes over the weekend across the channel, and there were wins for the usual suspects, as they say. But I was watching the Tambort Spurs game yesterday, lads. I know they didn't really see it.
No.
Oh my God, they could have won it in real time, as they say. They missed an absolute sitter with it. And ironically enough, in the history of the FA Cup, only one non-league team has ever won it. And I've written down here, that's why I know. And that team was Tottenham Hotspur when they weren't in the league at the time. So ironic, they nearly without a non-league team. But they won in the end, you know.
Millwall have scored against Dagenham tonight, 1-0.
Oh, they won it up?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the last of the FA Cup matches. Doncaster, Spurs, Man U, Palace, Ipswich, Newcastle, Southampton, Birmingham, Wolves, Blackburn, Liverpool, Leicester City, Bournemouth, Plymouth, Chelsea, Exeter, Brighton, Forest, Burnley, Stoke, Leeds, and Man City all won. Coventry won as well. And there's the Man United Arsenal match. I thought was the refereeing performance in that match was off the charts, in my opinion. I thought, you know.
Well, as in bad?
It was worse than bad, I thought.
He was terrible.
He gave 29 frees to Arsenal and 7 to Man U. I'm not saying you should judge the match by the amount of frees, but if there was a VAR on the referee, he would certainly have got a red card at halftime, before halftime.
But that's the game, though. You know, it is. I mean, if you look at the stats in any game, the away team always has more fouls than the home team. You know, so it wasn't. I mean, the things, you know, you call it one way or the other with VAR and what have you, but you know, I mean, for instance, the penalty, if there's VAR, the penalty is not given.
Yeah.
But then we talk about, you know, the beauty of human error, you know, and then you take it a little bit further and you look at the Kai Havertz one that he puts over the bar from 2 feet, and it was a double hand ball. It hit both his hands, and the referee and the linesman who was on that side of the field didn't even see it. I know. But that's the beauty of it. But that's everything that's good and bad with the game. And, you know, you talked about it there a couple of minutes ago. Tamworth, right? What a fairy tale story that was and is.
Yeah, absolutely.
And the FA, in all their cowardice, have bowed to the big clubs. Yeah. And denied Tamworth probably an 800,000 to £1 million day that would keep their club going for probably the next 5 years.
It would,
not
yeah.
longer.
Yeah.
And
Are
that's all that's wrong with the game right now.
Yeah.
The big guys are getting everything, and they're choking off any kind of revenue stream that the lower clubs are getting. You don't kill the game from the top down. You kill the game from the bottom up.
Absolutely.
And when they don't have the support that they need to keep going every week, then the game is going to fall apart. And that's the essence of it right there, you know.
There's so many things that seems wrong with the FA Cup, Joe. You know, I don't understand how VAR kicks in for the quarter-final.
It should be the same for the whole competition.
It's either in or it's not in, isn't it?
Right.
Yeah.
Well, it's like the League Cup, right? They bring the VAR in at the semi-final side of it. Why?
Yeah, that's true.
You play
even when they use VAR, and I seen it in a Liverpool match the other day, when they use VAR, right?
Yeah.
They still sometimes come back and tell the referee, go over and look and see what he thinks.
Yeah.
I mean, they're sitting above there, put the line across, they're either offside or they're not, or it's a handball or it isn't. But
Yes.
then to have the referee to go over to make the choice after he's sending it to VAR, you know? It doesn't make sense.
Another thing that annoyed me as we're on being annoyed was the sports reporters have a lot, I suppose, pressure on them in the interviews to get an interview with the manager, you know, and some of them are quite capable and competent and some of them are not. That's just a fact of life. But to me, one of the most ignorant managers in the last 3 interviews I saw him giving was Pep Guardiola. The contempt he has for the reporters is off the Richter scale, and I think that the sooner they get their act together and ignore the man completely, because he does nothing in the interviews for the game, you know. I know he should go back to the BBC website and look at these 2 interviews to the reporters. They were just so bad, you know. They're really so bad, you know.
Yeah, I didn't see his interview now, to be fair. This last couple of them, so you know, but I've normally thought that he does things pretty well. You know, he handles it pretty well. He tries to answer the questions. But
I'll give you an example, Joe, Derwynne Honan. Everybody, including the dogs on the street, as they say, and you can't go by the mile around here, that Kyle Walker is on his way out of the club.
Right.
No. He's the manager of the club, and he's getting well paid for his job, well paid in the Arab money have made him a very wealthy man. He was asked a direct question by a reporter, is Kyle Walker in your squad during the week, or is he, leaving out the club? I mean, the contempt which he answered the journalist was appalling. Everybody knows that Kyle Walker is going out of the club. He's 34 years of age. There's no top club going to come in for him, for a defender at 34. No top club, by the look of it, you know. And even though he's liking himself, I'm not saying he's finished his top there, but, you know, he'll have to hone his expectations somewhat if he wants to move on in his career. But he's still a young man, but I'm just saying that there won't be clubs lining up to buy him anyway, you know, at 34 years of age. But I think they're handled very badly. You know?
I mean, what are you saying, Pat? I mean, what was the problem with Guardiola's response?
Guardiola almost spit at the thing with an appalling attitude. To be asked about a player who's leaving the club, everyone knows he's leaving the club.
Right.
You know, and he said it himself. You know, Kyle Walker, that is, you know. Anyway, that's just me, you know.
But Pat, there's a way of saying things. You know, I mean, if he was asked a question, all he had to say is, I don't speak about contracts and I don't speak about players, but do it nicely. But I found since City started going down that he's got more aggressive, Pat.
Yeah.
You know?
Yes.
I think it's difficult to criticise him sometimes, Pat. And, you know, Ferguson didn't speak to the BBC for about 3 years, didn't he?
Well, that's right, yeah. He had the same lofty, the same lofty position in his own head, you know.
Yeah, and he wouldn't let the sun anywhere near one of his interviews. So
Yeah.
No.
they've all. I mean, they've
think-
all had their issues with him, what have you. But you know, in this day and age, it's part of their job.
Mm.
You know, and I mean, just think about it, right? The game is played. It starts at 3 o'clock on a Saturday afternoon, finishes at 20 to 5, right? The manager doesn't leave the ground sometimes till 9 o'clock at night
Yeah.
because of all the commitments that he's got for interviews, the rounds of interviews that he's got to do with papers, with radio, with TV, with whatever it is they're having to do. So someone explained to me how it's got like this. I mean, I just don't understand it. I know it's a huge business and what have you, but couldn't this all be done in one go?
Yeah, I often thought of that, Joe. Why don't they get all the reporters into the one room and put the manager up there?
Yeah.
But some managers don't want that.
No, it's all to do with social media, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Everybody's expecting a soundbite within a minute of the game finishing, and sometimes those guys are so wrapped up in the game that the excitement of it, or whatever you want to call it, the adrenaline of it, and they do say the wrong things occasionally, don't because they haven't had the time to process it, have they?
Yeah.
And that's the thing with it. But I mean, how many different ways can you say the same thing? And you know, I'm looking at this going, you know, Klopp got out of this for one of the biggest reasons was the intensity of what he has to do after a game. The interviews, and I mean, talk about a guy losing it with interviewers and what have you. I mean, he was a classic. I mean, he called guys that had played 500 and 600 professional games and said to them, I don't know if you've ever played the game. Now, Klopp played probably about 200 games if he was lucky.
Yeah.
You know, and he's talking about guys that have won a Premier League title and he doesn't know their background, you know. And I mean, he lost it there one time with one of the Scandinavian reporters.
Yes.
Yeah.
So my question is, why can't just, because in the old days, right, you did one interview after a game. It was either Match of the Day or ITV.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, that was it, yeah.
You did it. I've done it a few times, so I know what it's like, right? So why don't they take that interview and give it to everybody and they soundbite it in their own language, whatever way they do it, instead of having a person have to go to all four of us and then six more lined up behind us
And answer all the same questions.
Yeah.
And then go.
Joe. What do you think is happening or has happened with City the last, we say, since the beginning of the season to now?
I really think that it's been a perfect storm for them. I think that the team has gotten old.
Yeah, together.
I think that they lost their most influential player in Rodri. That would have helped in some of the cases. Their injuries have been, you know, let's be honest, they're no different than any other Premier League club. Injuries wise, everyone's getting them. You know, and so, but you would imagine that they would have enough players to cover that, not of the same quality, obviously, but you'd imagine they'd have the same players. So I think it's just a perfect storm of that. And you could see it, you know, Ilkay Gundogan came back from Barcelona and he's not the player he was, you know, prior to that. What's his name? Silva, the Portuguese guy.
Yeah.
He has not been the same player that he was last year and the year before.
And the same with De Bruyne.
De Bruyne had a load of injuries as well, so he's been struggling. You know, you've had the drama of Kyle Walker. They They don't need that at times like that. So it's just things like that that all come together in one go. But here's the difference in City and everybody else, Santa, right? City are already out in the marketplace and they're talking about 3 or 4 signings of 50 million plus.
Yeah.
Right? That's the difference in City and a club like Arsenal. Look at let's take for instance Arsenal, and let's not get carried away because United winning in the shootout on Saturday was a backs to the wall job. It was all hands on deck, and we get to the shootout and we ride our luck from there, and they did. They were fortunate with that, but Arsenal will not go out. Everyone knows and has known for 2 or 3 seasons that Arsenal need a 20 plus goals a season for.
They need a striker.
They need a striker. You do not win the Premier League without somebody that can score in the 20s goals wise for you. And they're trying to turn Kai Havertz into a goal scoring centre forward that he will never be one as long as Adam was a Boy Scout.
Yeah.
No.
He will not. That's it. And the story. So they have to. Last year they talked about. Well, this year they're talking about Isaac from Newcastle.
Yeah.
Right. Last year it was the guy from Brentford that went to Saudi Arabia.
Yeah.
It's all talk. It's all talk. But Arteta, for some reason, seems to think that he can make goals out of nowhere. Look at him against United. They had, what did they have? 73% of the play. And they still couldn't score a goal from it.
Yeah.
But I mean, Nunes isn't even scoring now.
No.
He's finding it very hard to score.
Yeah. And I mean, to be honest, you're not going to win the league championship from midfielders scoring goals. It's too much to ask.
It won't happen.
They can't get enough to do it. So
I watched Match of the Day Saturday night for the first time in a long time. Well, Gary Lineker wasn't on it, so that's the main reason why I watched it. But it was all the FA Cup matches, and the excitement, lads, is still palpable with the FA Cup for lots of teams, no matter where they're from. And the one I loved watching was Plymouth Argyle. Plymouth has had a rough time before they changed managers, and they won 1-0, but oh my God, you see the joy in their faces. It's unbelievable. It's unbelievable, like, for them,
Well, it is.
Leicester
Great for the small clubs.
Leicester City beat QPR 6-2, and the evergreen Jamie Vardy was on the map again, I don't know what's going to happen Leicester City when he decides to retire,
Well, it's the way it is. I mean, I remember we played a team when I was at Grimsby, and we were struggling in the 3rd division, and we drew a non-league team away from home in the FA Cup.
All right.
Up around Manchester, and I forget now the name of them, but we're up there and we're playing, and the worst thing you can get when you're struggling is an away tie at a non-league club.
Yeah.
Because they're right on top of you. There's a wall right next to the touchline, practically, and you can hear everything and you can feel everything coming at you from there. And it's a 0-0 game. We don't have a manager. We're between managers. Our manager Tommy Casey had got sacked, so we had an interim manager, Dick Connor, and with practically the last kick of the game, they scored.
Oh my God!
Right, the linesman puts his flag up.
Oh no! Oh no!
It's offside. We get out of that place as fast as we can.
Yeah.
Because it's just one of those things. So we go back to Grimsby, right?
For the replay.
And for replay, right? And we're playing away anyway. And next thing anyway, we go a goal up, right? Right from the kickoff, they go down and score 1-1. So the game goes on again for a bit. We score. They kick off. They go down and score again.
Oh, shit. Oh, my.
But by this time, we got a manager in place.
Yeah.
No, we didn't actually. We didn't. So anyway, the game goes on. We go down. We score. They don't score. We go down. We score again. We make it 4-2.
Yeah.
They kick off, go down and score and make it 4-3 straight away.
Oh, my goodness.
You couldn't make this stuff up.
Yeah.
We eventually ended up winning 5-3, but it was just like, you know, and like you say, the excitement of it. But I will never forget the feeling of being in that ground and those fans so close. It was like being up, and it was like being up in the Fair Green when the Pike and Fairview were playing back in the old days when it had the big hole in the middle of the field.
Yeah, you could feel the hot breath on the back, on the back of your neck when you're throwing the ball.
I mean, it was just vitriolic what was coming from. But that's the beauty of the FA Cup, though, you know. And when we're taking it away from these clubs, and we're taking away the advantage of a great day for them, then it starts to lose the magic of it. You know, and it's, you know, Postecoglou was interviewed after the game at Tamworth, and he said, he said, it's great, it means so much to these people, and he said, but, you know, and the replay, they lost out in the replay, and he says, he said, I don't, you know, he said, I feel I'm talking out two sides of my mouth. He said, because I'm talking about the history of the game and the character of the game and the whole thing, and we're denying Tamworth the replay. He said, but to be honest, he said, I don't know where we fit these games in with the schedule that we've got with international breaks and with all these European matches and stuff like that. And it's like we've talked about before. None of these, you know, if you give the Premier League a midwinter break, they will go and play games in sunny climates.
For money, for cash. Yeah, they will, of course. They will. Yeah. They'll go to the Far East, they'll go to America.
Yeah. They will,
but you know what's lovely? To see the smaller clubs like Plymouth Argyle, and they go into the likes of Liverpool, into Anfield, or going to Man United. You know, them players might never get a chance to play in those grounds if it wasn't for the FA Cup. You know what I mean? Plus, they get so much of the gate, which the money they get probably would keep their players paid for maybe 2 years. Which is great. Which is great for them.
You know, we talked earlier about Waterford and Alfie Hill and those lads. Well, Waterford had won the league in '68, I think it was, and they drew Man United in the European Cup first round. And the first match is played at Lansdowne Road. And I went up to my dad, Ned, worked on the railway, so he got me a pass, and myself and my next door neighbour, Terry O'Donoghue, went up to the match. Jumped over the wall, got a box by a cop, back out over the wall, and then half an hour later, back over the wall and up to stand in the old Lansdowne Road and watch the game. It ran out and it went 3-1 in the finish. United won, and they had George Best, Dennis Law, Nobby Stiles, all the Bill folks, all the European Cup winner guys playing, because they'd won it the year before. They were the champions. So they go back to Old Trafford, right? And they're playing at Old Trafford. Well, at Old Trafford, they get beat 6-1 or 6-2 or something like that. United are 6-0 up, and Watford scores. And I forget the guy's name that scored, but he's lying on the field, and he's got his arms and his legs outstretched, right? And he's just there, and he's savouring every piece of this. And Paddy Crane walks by him and he says, come on, he says, get up. You're embarrassing yourself. He said, I just scored at Old Trafford. He said, tomorrow I'm pulling down a 10-hour shift. I'm staying here for as long as I can.
That was like when Des Kennedy came on as sub. We used to call him super sub. but he played for Limerick when he scored against Real Madrid.
Right.
Yeah, that's right. We actually
here when we went over to Southampton. They were great times. You know,
yeah, we should. There's Kennedy's goal. We showed it here one night on the show against Real Madrid. You know,
and it was in Lansdowne Road. The cheers we gave, I'll never forget. It was brilliant.
We must put our Liverpool Anna on the spot. They are playing Nottingham Forest tomorrow night.
Yeah.
And if Nottingham Forest beat them, there's only 3 points ahead of them.
That's all. But we have a game in hand.
I know that, yeah, but that's the rest of it.
I don't know what it is. I just talked to my daughter there before we... Pardon?
Who's the we? I thought you were a Fairview woman.
No, I'm talking about my daughter. My daughter.
I'm talking in your Scouse accent now.
That's my daughter. And we were talking, and it always seems... I don't know what it is with Liverpool. I don't know whether they're infighting it. I don't know. But in the last 3 games, they didn't play their usual game, you know? They weren't as good as what they'd been before Christmas. After Christmas, they just seem to not play as well, you know?
They have 2 tough games left now. They're playing Nottingham Forest tomorrow night, and then the weekend they're playing Brentford.
That's right.
They are 2 well-organised teams. Tomorrow night, Brentford are playing Man City. Chelsea are playing Bournemouth, and West Ham are playing Fulham, and Forest are playing Liverpool. And Wednesday night, Everton and Villa, Leicester City and Palace, Newcastle and Wolves, and Arsenal and Spurs. That'll be a tasty match, Arsenal and Spurs. And on Thursday night, you have Ipswich at Brighton, and Man United have Southampton at home on Thursday night.
But I was just looking, Pat, here earlier today, I was reading the paper, and I was looking, it showed Liverpool's games for January.
Yeah.
They had four days between games and 3 days between games, between the league and between the FA or the European.
Yeah.
They have only 2 and 3 and 4 days.
Well, Marcus Rashford, the latest in Marcus Rashford tonight, I was watching on some of the channels, was that he's associated or linked with AC Milan, and I think that if it comes off, that'll be a good move for him. You know, that's Marcus Rashford.
One of the Milan teams are talking about Kyle Walker as well.
Borussia Dortmund are interested in AC Milan in Marcus Rashford as well.
Yeah.
David Moyes has gone back to the blue side of Liverpool again, back to his spiritual home, and I hope it works out for him. You know, I thought he's a decent chap, decent manager. You know, that's David Moyes.
I think he was more than a decent manager. I mean, to be honest, he's won Manager of the Year 2 or 3 times in the Premier League.
Yeah,
he was at Everton. And that was the time when Everton or Man United and Arsenal were flying with Ferguson and Wenger. So, I mean, he was always punching at Everton well above their weight, got them into the Champions League one year. So, I mean, and of course he won a European trophy with West Ham, you know, so...
He did.
So
he did, I think he went to United. I don't know why he went to United that time. David Moyes, didn't he go to Man United?
Yes, he did after Ferguson.
That was
Ferguson
a big
chose him as his successor. So it's the age old, and
could you say
at Liverpool?
Could you say something about Ferguson? He left the club in rag order, Ferguson.
But no, he didn't, because they won the league the year before.
Yeah, but
he retired. So you can't. I mean, to be honest, no, you can't say that because they finished second to City the year 2 years before. That was the day that City came back against Queen's Park Rangers.
Yes.
Right,
yeah.
And they won the league on goal difference, I think, by 1 goal.
Did he?
Right. Ferguson went out that summer and bought Robin van Persie.
Yeah.
Robin Van Persie had scored 30 goals for Arsenal
He
the
did.
season before. He came to United and he won the championship, the Premier League with United. So a second and a first he finished with, right? And he retired. He left them on top, right? What happened after that is I don't know what happens or what happened in that situation, but if you have a certain group of players that don't respect the person coming in the door, then that person has got no chance of being successful.
No.
And
Yeah, that's
and
true.
that is the problem. It's the attitude of the players. I mean, players were absolutely terrified of Ferguson to do anything wrong because they knew what the consequences were going
But
to be.
Joe, look at all the managers, fine managers that failed at Man
Yeah.
United. Louis Van Gaal,
Again,
Jose Mourinho.
Hey, Pat, you could go back to Busby with
Frank
O'Farrell.
O'Farrell and Wilf McGuinness.
Yeah, you could go. I mean, I can't imagine. And Joe, you'd probably be the best person to answer this question to. If Man United come knocking and they want you either as a player or as a manager, that's got to be an unbelievable offer, and to walk away and go no thanks.
Right.
I can't believe that. That would be a bit like me inviting you three guys to come and play at Augusta, and you going,
No.
I've played too much golf already.
Yeah, right.
I mean, it's got to be like that, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
Anna, it's not having to go about Liverpool, but I mean, Liverpool's a big club. Spurs is a big club. Arsenal's a big club. But I don't think, with all the history that goes with United, and all of some of it is to do with the air crash and all the rest of it, and all of that stuff. If they come knocking, it's got to be. I can't imagine anybody going no.
Yeah.
And I think if you look at Moyes going in there, like Joe's just said, he had probably a few players that were on the way down.
Mm-hmm.
He had a few players that was in a big clip that were like, he ain't Ferguson, we can take the mickey a bit.
Yeah.
You've only got to watch the documentary that BBC has got on Ferguson, where they've asked basically, I think it's like 30 players, what's it like? And Yap Stam comes out with one of the most amazing comments. He said, I can talk from personal experience of Ferguson. I was his blue-eyed boy for a long 2 seasons. I couldn't do anything wrong.
He was?
Yeah.
If I needed a couple of days off because of an ill child, or it wasn't a problem. He said, as soon as I started monkeying around and messing about with certain things, like he doesn't say about the drugs thing, but when he gets caught with that, Ferguson got him out within a day. He said the man is so focused on what United. It's United.
On the club, yeah.
And, you know, all the players turned around, even the old players like the Mark Hughes and the Steve Bruces and the Pallisters, that they, I mean, Gordon Strachan tells a story on that documentary that when he went to United, he wasn't a drinker. He was not into the social side of the players. He came into training, did his thing, go. He went out one day because he basically, the players were like, you've got to come out one afternoon after training. He got back at about 2 o'clock in the morning, having left the cliff at 2 in the afternoon. And he was with Brian Robson, and Brian Robson lifted him, put him in the boot of the car and drove him home.
Yeah.
And he said, I couldn't cope with it. He said, as soon as Ferguson started to understand what's going on, he said it all just stopped because you weren't allowed. But then if you listen to the early part of that documentary, they've got Willie Miller and all the Aberdeen players.
Oh, yeah.
there's one lad on there that says that when Ferguson went to United, they called it the hairdryer. He said, we didn't have the hairdryer. We had the furnace. He said, because he would stand nose to nose with you and just ball you out. He said, but I'll tell you what, if you did it at half time, you did not play better in the second half because you did not want to come in because you would have had it on the coat. I mean, I don't know if you've ever seen the clip when Aberdeen win the double.
Yes.
And they win the Scottish FA Cup, and he's going ballistic while he's being interviewed on the pitch, Ferguson, about how lucky they got because they beat somebody 1-0. And he's going ballistic on the pitch, and they've just won the Scottish Cup.
Yeah.
And he's just, well, the interviewer guy doesn't even know what to do because he's like,
but Derwynne, managers like Ferguson don't come around that often. People like him, you know. You have Jock Stein, and you have Ferguson, and you have Kenny Dalglish, who's rarely mentioned, but I thought he was a
but you know,
Busby.
Yeah, but you know, there's kind of you have to look at it in a couple of different ways. You know, you look at Manchester United, right? For instance, when Busby went, right?
Yeah.
There was no background team that Busby had working at United that would be in place when he retired, right?
Oh, yeah.
Bill Shankly, when he was at Liverpool, right, and for whatever reason, the last thing I read about him was that he wanted a place on the board and the board wouldn't give it to him. So he resigned. But he had Bob Paisley, Joe Fagan, Ronnie Moran, right? All his backroom staff, all the boot room boys, and then Roy Evans, who had to finish early.
Yeah.
That was the succession group. The only one that did not manage was Ronnie Moran because he didn't want to be manager.
Yeah.
He wanted to be. So you had Bob Paisley, who was probably in the time that he was the Liverpool manager, it may be the most successful manager in English football history for the period that he was there, right? Then Joe Fagan came in. Joe Fagan won the European Cup, I think, or they lost in the final. I think he was there at Hazel when that happened, unfortunately, but won the first division. And then Roy Evans, and it was when Roy Evans came in that things started to go kind of sideways. But that was after the likes of, then Kenny became player manager. And then I think Roy Evans was after that. And Roy Evans and Gerard Houllier did it together.
Yeah.
So, but they had a substantial backroom group behind them. When Liverpool won the league, Ronnie Moran would come in, right? They'd have their after season meeting in the dressing room at Anfield. Ronnie Moran would walk in with a box of the medals that you get for winning the championship in all four tiers in England. It's an oak shield with a square oak shield with a square gold plate, and it says first division champions, second division, third division, fourth division, right? And he would throw that box on the table, the treatment table in the middle of the dressing room. He said, "There's your medals. Take one if you think you deserve one." And he'd walk out and slam the door. Right? That was the attitude at Liverpool. You know, if you think you deserve one, take it. And everyone would be looking at each other and go, who's going to be the first one to go? And the whole thing. So that was the culture that was created there. You're only as good as your last game. And that was the thing there. That was the same with Ferguson.
Yeah.
David Moyes may well have made the biggest mistake of his life when he did not keep Mike Phelan and Ronnie and Rene Mullenstein on at United. Those two knew that club inside out. Yeah. David Moyes did not know what he was getting into. He had a meeting with Rene Mullenstein, who was a great coach, terrific coach. And he was talking to him, and he said, Rennie says to him, he said, David, he said, I don't think you realise what you've moved into here. He said, you've come from Everton. He said, compared to Manchester United, Everton is a yacht. Manchester United is a cruise ship.
Yeah.
That's the difference in size. And David,
you need a big crew.
yeah, you need people to know what's going on. So
McLaren on the documentary, McLaren says we won the league, we go and win the FA Cup. 3 days later, we're playing the European Cup. He said we win the European Cup. He said we get back to Manchester the next morning, or the next afternoon, and there's the bus parade all around Manchester. He said that we stayed out. We went back to Old Trafford, and the trophies were given out again, and the Old Trafford was full. He said we ended up staying out till like 3, 4, 5 in the morning.
Yeah.
He said Ferguson's having a great time. Everybody's having a good time. He said at 4:30, Ferguson comes across one of the lounges in Manchester at Old Trafford and says, Steve, have a great time tonight. I'm off. I'll see you at the cliff at 9 o'clock. You what? He said, I'll see you at 9 o'clock, about 4 hours' time, okay? I'll see you at the cliff, 9 o'clock. Don't be late. And he turned up at 5 to 9, and Ferguson bollocked him because, okay, you're 5 minutes early. I expected you 15 minutes early. Right, okay. Anyway, what are we going to do next year? And he said, I'm still drunk from the night before. He said, I haven't really been to bed.
Yeah.
He said, I've got home. My wife can't believe I've got to go to the cliff. He said, I'm touch and go about driving the car. And he said, it's like, I can't get my head around this.
Yeah.
He said, sat there till 4 o'clock in the afternoon, working out which players are staying, which ones are going, who do we need to bring in, because we're going to change the way we play a little bit. He said, Ferguson's already into next year, and we're still partying.
Yeah, yeah. That was the mindset of the man, all right. You know, mindset of the man. But yeah, it is a big club, Man United. They said they're the biggest seller of Premiership jerseys in Britain. They're the number one club. They sell the most in Britain as well, of merchandise, I should say. SportsView is the program. Tell all your friends about us. We're here every Monday night. And press the red button on the right-hand side to subscribe to our channel. It's very much appreciated. We'll just touch on a few things before we are. The European rugby, we had another good night in Munster down here Friday night when they beat Saracens in the European Cup. Munster 19, what was the score? I have written somewhere. They won 19-17 and it was 17-15 or something like that. Munster, they got 2 cracking tries, so they're well in it for the playoff place, for the quarter-final place. Glasgow beat Racing 92, 29-19, and Leicester beat Ulster 38-10. And Ulster beat Saracens, Munster beat Saracens 17-12, and Connacht in Challenge Cup beat Lyon 52-24. Leinster beat La Rochelle Leicester in France, a cracking game of rugby, 16-14. But I was watching the interview with Ronan O'Gara afterwards. He said, we'll meet again. We'll meet again. They won't beat us a second time. Bristol, we're talking about Bristol, had a very good win, 35-29 in the European Cup as well. The Australian Open Tennis Championship began this weekend, the first Grand Slam of the year. And there was a few big fallers at the first round. Tsitsipas, who was one of the defensive players, he was beaten in the first round by an American. And Kyrgios was beaten as well. And Djokovic won his first match. Alcaraz, Sinner, they all won. And in the women's end, you had Sabalenka, Goff, Pegula, Badosa, Swiatek all winning. So it's only first day yet, but there's a lot of interest in it. The Sony Open was played over the weekend. Derwynne in the golf. And it wasn't 35 under this week.
15, wasn't it? 16?
Yeah, 16 under a playoff between Nick Taylor of Canada and Nicholas Echevarria of Colombia. Colombia, yeah. They both finished at 16 under, and Nick Taylor won in the playoff. He won $1.62 million, and Echevarria was just a few dollars short of $1 million for being runner-up. So, nice weekend for him there. American football, John, I asked you about the Washington Commanders are making big waves this year. The Washington Commanders, they won their playoff match over the weekend, 23-20. And this guy, Jaden Daniels, the quarterback, Daniels, is making a big name for himself in American football. And how well regarded is he, this Jaden Daniels? I saw the highlights of the match, you know.
Oh, he's well regarded, really well regarded. I think that the guy that should take most of the credit for this is Dan Quinn, the coach.
Yeah.
Dan Quinn.
That's an Irish name, Quinn.
Yeah, it is. Dan Quinn's been around the block a couple of times.
We'll take him.
Yeah.
Jackie Charles rules again.
Yeah. And
we'll take him. We only need his hand to know.
Yeah. He was the coach of Atlanta when they were in the
Atlanta
when
Falcons.
they were in the Super Bowl, and there was, I forget what the score was at halftime, but they were like 20-something to 0 up at halftime, and the other team came back and beat them.
Oh God!
And, yeah,
Jesus.
and then it was a huge downer for him. He stayed another little while in Atlanta, and then he got fired, and he really had a tough time of it, and he had to kind of go out and reinvent himself. He got professional help because he blamed himself. He was too much of a hands-on kind of guy, spread himself too thin, and learned how to delegate and what have you. And I mean, Washington, to be honest, has not been that strong.
Sorry, were they the Washington Redskins?
Yes, they were. And
that's why they didn't ring a bell with me. I saw the Washington Commanders in the 3-new team.
Yeah.
Because they had to change the name of Redskins because of the Native Americans.
All the sports franchises that had anything to do with Native American names changed. So that was throughout the sports. But he's come back and he's done a great job of getting that franchise to where it is. So they're certainly a contender for the whole thing.
For the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
They'd be worth the flutter, would they? Not to wear. I see a little bit better.
Yeah. I mean, but there are some good teams left in it. I mean, you're looking at I think Baltimore is still in it.
Yeah.
Kansas City still in it. I didn't follow it.
I didn't write them down now, but I was reading about
I know Buffalo are still in it. Buffalo are a very, very good team.
They're a tough team.
Got a great quarterback. Are Miami still in it, or did?
I think they were before the last game, but I can't remember what they did in the last game.
Yeah, I can't remember. They were still in it.
They were still in the hunt, I think.
And then the Rams are playing the Vikings tonight.
Yeah, there's a match on tonight. There is. There's a match on tonight.
Vikings. Yeah. So that'll be interesting. We have a little bit of an interest in the Rams. They have a receiver on the team that is the son of a colleague of Sue's at school.
Oh,
was the colleague at school. So
the Commanders won, as I said. The Philadelphia Eagles won as well. While the Buffalo Bills have to play again. You know, the Bills beat the Denver Broncos 31-7, and the Philadelphia Eagles beat Green Bay Packers. That was it. Yeah. The Los Angeles Rams are facing the Minnesota Vikings.
So they're playing the Vikings tonight. And the Chargers.
For the final playoff place, yeah, I think so.
The Chargers got beat yesterday, I think. The LA Chargers got beat yesterday. They couldn't get much going.
It is still a big sport in America.
Oh, it's huge.
Yeah.
It's huge.
There's incredible.
To be fair, it's the biggest sport in the country. You know,
Yeah.
I think, yeah, for sure. You know, it's just the coverage of it.
It's
You
massive.
know, it's massive, absolutely massive. Yeah.
I know I have a lot of the American sports channels now, and it's no matter which one of them you go over to, they're showing American football, or they're talking about it. You know?
Yeah.
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 It's
I think basketball's sort of taken over a little bit from baseball too, isn't it?
Yeah. I mean, basketball has. I mean, basketball just introduced their first basketball cup, and I really didn't follow it that closely, and I don't know what the format is. I don't know whether it's a knockout competition or how it is, but it was the NBA Cup, and they've normally only played, you know, their league stuff, and then the playoffs. So
I think basketball is a woman's game, really. You know, it's a game for women mainly.
Oh, I love watching it. It's a great game to see. Live.
Pat, don't be sexist now, please. Don't be sexist. Women can any sport men can play if they want.
Don't be going through the camera in now, for God's sake. I can just see you
and they would call baseball rounders. You played rounders. You played rounders going to school when you weren't picked for the football team. You would out there and play rounders. You know?
Be very careful now, because he's going to turn around in a minute and say that women shouldn't be boxing.
I'm only ball happy. Listen,
He's going to come out with the vote in a minute, isn't he?
Yeah.
Well,
I'm glad I'm on the other side of the ocean here. I'm
It's my first night back. I'm being very good.
Yeah,
fair play to you.
You've not been.
How would you assess the career of Tyson Fury? You've seen a lot of boxing, although you're mainly amateur boxer. I give you credit there. But...
Yeah, I'm not a lover of professional boxing. And what I'm finding at the moment, and what we're finding in amateur boxing, are good kids when they get to 18 and 19. If they're good, like we have a very good young fella now, Adam Alana. Adam won the Europeans and the Worlds this year, and he's only a youth boxer. But you have all the promoters. Then they're looking for him to go professional. You know, and believe to him, I said it to him as well when I was race manager at the Worlds with him. I said, "You're only 18." I said to him,
I read recently
for the Olympics. If you win a medal in the Olympics, if you even get to the Olympics, then you can make your own prize. But what they're doing with the young boxers, they're only making them journeymen out. That's all they're doing. You know, and it's terrible.
I read recently, and I'm sorry for cutting you off, that Michael Conlan is going for another world title shot. I think someone should take the man aside and give him some advice. You know, he's going to suffer damage. I think myself, serious damage.
I thought he'd stay with Jamie, his brother, now, and do the management side, like, because they have their own. Yeah. They have their own stable now in Belfast as well, you know. But it's, you know, I mean, out of 100 that might go professional, there's less than 10 will actually make it.
Yeah.
But these younger boxers, they're only bringing them in for good spars for those that are the best.
Yes.
And these kids are going nowhere.
No.
You know, you can see it 2 years down the line, and they've had 3 fights in 3 years.
Yeah.
You know, and I mean, if they have to, and if they're on a bill when they're that bit younger, they have to sell 3,000. There's a 3,000 worth of tickets before they're on. They have to pay and sell tickets to get on the bill.
That's right. I know. I was reading about that as well. You know, it's
you know. I mean, I'd advise any young boxer if they're good enough and they know they're good enough. If they're not good enough to win an amateur title, then they're not good enough to go professional.
What about our friend Katie? Will she fight again?
Yes, she will. But I just wish after the last one that she just give it up. You know,
I thought she might. I thought she might.
I thought after the second Cameron fight,
Yeah.
that was the time to go because I felt she has nothing else to prove.
No,
And
there's
what
no
she
one.
did in amateur boxing, she done a professional. When the women in boxing were getting pittance, now they want to box Katie because they're getting six-figure sums.
That's right. Yeah.
You
That's
know,
right.
and they keep. And I mean, if you look at Eddie Hearns and you look at George Peter, you look at the people that are behind her. They don't want her to go. She's their wages. She's
Right.
making them a load of money.
Well,
And
that's true.
she was a millionaire before she turned professional.
She
But
was.
you
Yeah,
see,
she was.
boxing, Katie has nothing else outside boxing. And that's
Yeah.
the sad thing. Her heart is in boxing.
What is she?
And I would hate her
36.
to go out and fight Serrana maybe again and lose. I'd
What
like her
age
to go now.
is she
on top.
30? She's only 36 or 37, is she?
37, yeah, since July.
37, yeah.
But she
Well,
really
a lot of-
wants. She really
Yeah.
wants to fight in Croke Park, doesn't she?
She does.
Yeah.
And you know,
the-
Joe, I don't think she'd fill Croke Park.
No.
Yeah.
The promoters.
I don't.
It's a
I'd
big
say
ask.
she come down to Thomond Park, she'd fill that. But
Yeah.
I don't think that she would fill Croke Park because no matter what you say, we went to see her above in Dublin when she came against Cameron when Cameron beat her. But the thing about it was that they're outpricing themselves. Now you have kids that box. You have parents involved in boxing.
Yeah,
They want to bring families.
Yes.
You couldn't afford to bring families at the
Well,
price.
we're talking
That's a big
about
charge.
Old Trafford is a pointy question. £66 for a ticket to go to Old Trafford. I mean, who are they catering for? And I was looking at the geography of Manchester. I've never been in Manchester, but I know there's a lot of what they call deprived areas or poor areas around Old Trafford. You know, they were the old supporters who used to walk into the ground years ago with their tin fags and a pint of porter and they'd have a couple of pounds for the match. You can't do that now.
But it's so,
Chelsea's 80 quid.
Huh?
Chelsea's 80 quid.
Yeah. I was looking at the prices.
I was talking yesterday. I was in Dublin. We have championships on at the moment, and I was in Dublin, and we were talking the other night downstairs in the hotel, and they were talking about the price of going over to the Premier League and that. And I was saying my lads have season tickets. They go maybe 4 or 5 times a year.
Yeah.
But one of the lads said he brought his son to Germany, and it's only a few euros to win the big matches there.
I know
it's affordable in Germany. It's not affordable in England.
Yeah, my son walked over there for a while and he couldn't believe it. Going to the Bundesliga matches, Mark, he was saying to me, God, Dad, he said, you know, when he inquired about the prices, I mean, they could go to see Bayern Munich and Borussia Dortmund. Well, he was in Berlin. They were playing Union Berlin when they were in Dortmund. The matches were very, very reasonable, you know?
Yeah.
Very reasonable.
Well, the Bayern Munich president, a former player, he said, we could put the prices up. He said, we could put our prices up.
Yeah.
He said, and we'd make 10 million more a year from it. He said, but what's 10 million to us if we lose our supporters?
Exactly.
Yeah, and you know, to touch on what you were talking about there, and we talked about earlier, Tamworth, right? Tamworth knew going into this game that Spurs were probably going to win, right? Given the laws of average, they knew for sure that there wasn't going to be a replay, and they weren't going to go back to Sports Stadium for a replay for a big payday. So they raised their prices because Tottenham were in town, and they're getting slagged off for it.
Yeah.
But how else are these people expected to make money
Exactly,
to
and
finance the
you're
club?
right. And watching match of the day, watching match of the day the night about the FA Cup, and they were on Tamworth. The dugout wasn't big enough for the Spurs
Right.
entourage. The back. So they had to go into the local community hall to get extra chairs to put beside the dugout for the backup team of Spurs
Right.
was nearly as big as was on the sidelines. It's just
But
unbelievable.
as you said, I mean, Liverpool now are going to Plymouth Argyle, right? Sure, they won't make much money out of it either. We say Plymouth because we say Liverpool are going down there. That if they went to Anfield, they'd have a great, they'd have a lot of money going
They
away
might
out
beat,
of it.
they might beat Liverpool.
Yesterday, Arsenal at the Arsenal United game, Arsenal United had 10,000 fans in Emirates last night, and like they were saying afterwards on some of the Man United forum,
Yeah.
if Arsenal had said, "Well, we'll give you 30,000 tickets," they would have sold 30,000 tickets.
Yeah.
They would, yeah, they would.
Well, I mean,
they would have brought 30,000 fans. There's certain clubs, Liverpool. I mean, I think Tottenham took something like 1,800 to Tamworth.
Yeah.
And I think they could only
Could
get
anyone tell me, where's Tamworth? I don't know where is it?
Birmingham, south of Birmingham.
Yeah, I was going to say it's in the Midlands,
Yeah.
isn't it? Yeah. But I'll tell you what, when I played at Grimsby, we drew Liverpool at Anfield in the third round. Right?
Yeah.
Hiding to nothing, our biggest mistake was we kicked off. And
Right.
that was the end of it after that.
Yeah.
But,
It was all level before that,
yeah, we took 15,000 people from Grimsby to Anfield.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
could not find a bus, a coach, a train, anywhere to rent to get. Even taxis were booked up for people to get to Anfield. So that was how much. And Liverpool were expecting us to bring something like 5,000 people at best.
Yeah.
Some of our fans had to go in the cop.
Oh wow!
Yeah.
All right.
Imagine that walking into the cop in a black and white and red scarf.
Yeah.
And the digs you got on the way in and the boots you got on the way in.
Yeah. And the way out.
That happened to my grandson. He had his communion and all he wanted was go to Anfield to see Liverpool play.
Yeah.
So I was away boxing, and you might have heard of this girl. She's a boxer, a professional. Her name is Tasha Jonas. She actually comes from Liverpool, and she was boxing in the same time. And when I heard the Liverpudlian accent, I asked her, was she a red or a blue? And she said, of course I'm red, she said.
Yeah.
So I was telling her about what happened with Jamie. And she said,
Jonas,
yeah, he could get him tickets, she said.
Yeah.
So I went on holidays, I came back and I had an email from Tasha saying she had secured 2 tickets. She couldn't get me one. So I said, well, I'm not worried because I'll go anyway.
Yeah.
But when we got there, we didn't hear from her and I was worried. What happened was the guy that worked there went out to the Man United match and didn't come home. But Tasha got 2 for the away place. Jamie had all his gear, Liverpool gear. He had to take them all off. But Arsenal, they were actually playing Arsenal. All his gear. They take all his gear. I was only 8. He take all his Liverpool gear off, go into Anfield. But Tracy said the supporters were so lovely that they were telling them, put on your hat, they were saying to me, But I had no ticket, as I said. So I went around the back. And the big glass door was there, and there was a lady talking to someone, and I was just passing, and these 2 men came out, and they asked me, he said to me, you'll be late for the match. So I was telling him the story, and he took a wad of tickets out of his pocket and handed me one.
Yeah.
And I said, what do I owe you? And the other man started laughing. He said, this is your lucky day. He's the secretary of Liverpool Football Club. So I got into the match.
No.
I'll tell you a quick good story.
That's a great story.
Mate of mine's West Ham season ticket holder, and Man United were playing West Ham, and he says, "Come along," but obviously he's got season tickets in the Chicken Run at West Ham, which is like they've adopted part of the London Stadium as the Chicken Run that used to be at Upton Park, which was a brutal area to be in at Upton Park. It was right where all the aggro was in the Chicken Run.
Yeah.
So he says, if Man United score, just sit on your hands or don't stand up. So we're queuing up to go in the London City ground, and there's a girl about 3 in front of us in the queue, and this West Ham fan in the next turnstile has turned around going, "Oh, Stuart, got a broad East End accent. Oh, Stuart, this bird, she's got a red football shirt on. She's a bloody get her out of here." And this steward walks down between the turnstiles and says to this girl, "I'm really sorry, but could you just undo your coat? It was pissing down with rain. Just undo your coat. I just need to see if it's not a Man United stuff." And she takes it down, and it's just a red T-shirt. And he's gone, "It's all right. It's just a red T-shirt."
Yeah.
And this damn fan's gone, "It's okay. I just wanted to see her boobs." And like there's probably football fans who have just started laughing.
I tell you,
That's
when it comes,
factor, isn't it?
yeah, I mean, when it comes to it, it's so ridiculous. Back in the 70s, when I was in digs in Leicester, and we had this guy that was on trial with us, and our landlord's son, landlord and landlady's son, they were going to go to Trent Bridge to watch Leicester play Nottingham Forest.
Right.
So the lads anyway get over to Nottingham, drive over, and they get to Trent Bridge. They're walking across Trent Bridge, and they've got no markings on them, nothing whatsoever. All of a sudden, they see a crowd coming the other way, and they're, we're grand. So they keep walking. Anyway, the crowd anyway turns on them and starts giving them a couple of licks. And then I walked past them and kept going. They were Leicester fans. And they just kicked the bejesus out of 2 in a row. they just don't care. They really don't care. I mean, it's so stupid.
We should do a night of stories, sports stories. On the
I tell you, I could tell you stories about fellas, or people, just that I heard from. When I was at Grimsby, and we'd play Leeds, or we'd play Hull, or Sheffield United, or Sheffield Wednesday, and the Meggies hated the Yorkies. It was just like one of those things, and there was and some of the stuff that you would hear about it and how stupid it was. I remember one night we were at playing at Rochdale, 4th division game, pouring down with rain. Pitch is a slop, right? It's probably 650 people at the match.
Yeah.
The crowd in the cop behind the Grimsby goal changed ends at half time because there was no one at the other end. Right? And they went down because all the action was behind the
other goal,
the Rochdale goal. So they went down there. So there was one guy, his name's Ernie, he's a fisherman, and great guy. He'd come in, he'd be out for like 3 or 4 weeks at a time and come back. And the first thing they do, they come off the dock and they go into Burton's, the tailor, get a brand new suit, go off on the tear and be lallooed for the week that they're in town, and then get back on the boat with the suit on and go back out to sea. Well, Ernie comes in, and he usually drops fish off at this Ritz Cafe for us.
Yes. So
I saw him anyway. I saw him at the game that night. I saw him in the thing. I said, I saw you at the match last night. He says, "Yeah, Joe." He said, "Yeah." He said, my boat just got in this morning, or yesterday morning. So I said, "I got my suit at Burton's," and he said, "I brought the fish down for the lads. Yours is in the fridge back there for you." And I said, "Yeah." I said, "What?" He said, yeah. He said, I had a few pints and I went over to the Cons Club and they told me there was a bus going. So I went on the bus and we're drinking on the bus. And he said, I was absolutely out of it. And there's one cop walking in front of it, the crowd, right? Up and down, right? And only all of a sudden says to this cop something very, very derogatory. Well, there was probably 50 people in the cop, all from the bus that took him.
Yeah.
49 of them went two ways, and there's Ernie stuck in the middle. And the cop walks in, pulls him by the ear, takes him, and throws him out. It was just like,
do you know the stories we're telling? But did any of you see the video that was up about the little boy Isaac, a Liverpool supporters? There was something.
I did. I saw it.
Wrong with him, and they went in. Van Dijk and Salah went into his school, and they took him out of the school and brought him over to Anfield.
Yes.
And it was so lovely because he knew he was only about 5. He knew them all, and he was calling them all. You know, he was saying, "Conor Bradley, where are you?" And it was just, and they brought him. He went out then as a mascot. And they brought lads, that's the other side that we don't actually see. Yeah. And to see that video and see that kid.
He died. He died.
Explain it. There was something wrong with him. You could see it in his face, like, you know. But to see that side, no one ever shows you the good that the players do.
No, I mean, they do.
Lads, I was crying. I actually was crying watching it.
It was very emotional, very good.
What they done for him was brilliant, you know.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I'm sure it's not just Liverpool. I'm sure the other teams do the same.
No,
a lot of the London teams go to at Christmas go to Great Ormond Street.
Yeah.
Children's Hospital in London. So Tottenham do it, Arsenal do it. Most of the big London teams.
Yeah.
We used to do it at Grimsby back in the 70s. We would at Christmas time go to the hospital and take stuff for kids that were in there over the holidays and what have you. And it's
but it was just so emotional to see his little face, you know. Yeah. And he says, Van Dijk says to him, "What role am I? You're Van Dijk." And he said, "I have a friend with me. Can he come in?" And the little fella said, "Who?" "Mo Salah." "Oh, he can come in too." It was just so lovely. It really was.
I saw that. It was very good. We've come to the end of another show, lads. It's been a fantastic night. From Anna, from Joe, from Derwynne and myself. Till we meet again, lads. Take care and good sport for the week. We'll see you all again next Monday night. Lekun of Day.
Good luck, lads.
Take care, guys.
Night,
Take care.
Night,
Great seeing you again.